why genuine candidates are getting caught in the same filter as the AI ghost candidates are. And we talked about what an artificial intelligently created candidate is, but that we've known about them for a hot minute. I saw a post several months ago from someone that claimed that they were seeing a pretty good percentage of ghost candidates. We're probably estimating about 20% based off of our data. So 20% of the applicants that are applying aren't real people at all. And that's what a ghost candidate is. They're not even real people. They're fabricated profiles, individuals. If they get invited to interview the people that are representing or have created the fake candidates, either hire an interviewer or they fake their way through the interviewer. And the goal is for these individuals or these fake profiles to get hired, get a paycheck. But obviously they don't work, right? So in our industry, it's really huge because once someone gets access into a sponsor or a CRO, they have access to all that data. And so it really could be pretty catastrophic because now you've just opened up your data portals to who you think is a real person, but they're not a real person. So it's a big problem. Gartner published a study a couple of weeks ago that stated that they expect by 2028, about 1 in 5 applicants are going to be ghost candidates. And we're kind of already seeing that here in the industry. So the webinar last Tuesday, this past Tuesday, was the impact to you guys. What does that mean on the job search side of the desk? Obviously, to us, it's burying us because you got the people that are falsifying their credentials, and then you layer in the artificial intelligence candidates. But to you guys, a lot of times I think candidate job search seekers think, okay, well, I'm competing with the people who are falsifying their credentials, and I'm competing with these AI ghost candidates. And in a lot of contexts, you are. But another reframe is you're also getting caught in the same filters that are filtering out ghost candidates because ghost candidates, by the nature of the beast, they're vague. They don't have real details, right? They're going to provide things like months only on their resume, and they're not going to describe anything but like a list of duties or responsibilities because they're not real. They don't have proof. They don't have real life stories, right? There could be inconsistencies. Whenever you lie or you make stuff up, it's really hard to remember lies. So if you've like got inconsistencies between your assets, your resume, and your LinkedIn don't tell the same story. They have different dates, different employments. And this even could be if you've made a mistake on an earlier resume and you've corrected it in later lives. Or we've seen a lot of fraudulent candidates that fake it until they make it. They say they work for a company like PPD, and then their 2010 resume said that they started out with PPD, and their current resume doesn't have PPD on it at all, but a different company with a different whatever. We see that a lot. So those inconsistencies will flag you really quickly. And then we talked about volume, those job seekers that just mass apply. Well, you know what? Bots do the same thing. They just send out a generic resume, generic, contact. And so if you're behaving like a bot, then that could get you caught. And then we talked about no human trail, no network, no one that can vouch for you, no activity on LinkedIn. And the reality is for you guys that are here today, whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have a really good buttoned up LinkedIn profile and you're not networking, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a job in today's market because the application button is broken. The application button is broken, you guys. Only about 10 to 15% of hires are coming through the application portals right now. And so if you're not networking and people aren't finding you on LinkedIn, it's going to be a much steeper hill for you to climb. So those were some of the things that we talked about. And I had some follow-on questions. So the first question that I had that someone sent in was, how do I know if my own resume looks suspicious to a reviewer? Hands up, you guys. How many of you guys that maybe you were either in the session the other day and that came across your mind or you thought of it since then? Have any of you guys wondered that if your own resume looks suspicious to a reviewer? Oh, Jeremy's got a hands up. Okay, I've got a few. Okay. So the first thing is you want to look at the results to your applications. So I just made some notes here. Are you receiving responses? Silence is a result, you guys. And in my universe, I work off of results. Success is just a result. You guys that follow me, you've heard me say this a cajillion times. Success is just a result. Failure is just a result. If you look at both from a results perspective and you problem solve, change your method to get a different result, now you're on the right track, right? Because you did something to get that success and you're doing something to get that failure. So if you're not getting responses to your resume, that means you need to change something. Right. And it could very well be because you fall into one of those categories that we talked about. And for example, in the webinar, we talked about auditing your profile, comparing your LinkedIn with your resume, and if there's any discrepancies to fix them, etc. We also talked about the fact that a lot of people build their resumes from job descriptions. So you got a whole list of duties and responsibilities, but you don't actually talk about what you did. Right. So a couple things that you can do against your resume is take a look, and after you've done the audit, of course, take a look at your experiences. Do you have a bunch of things here that say responsible for? Participated in, things that could read like a job description, things that could be on anybody else's resume. Because if they are things that can be on anybody else's resume, then you're probably falling into the AI category. Okay. And I mean, it's a hard truth, but it's a real truth. What you're wanting to do is you can ask against each of these bullets the so what question. So, like if you say something like responsible for PSV, SIVs, IMVs, CMVs, Savannah, how many resumes do we see that bullet on? How many do you think?
Almost all of them. We see
Almost
them on
all
a
of them.
lot.
Yep. So the question would be is if you're looking at that resume and you're getting ready to hire a CRA, you should say, why do I care? So what? What do I care if you're responsible for it? Just because you're responsible for it doesn't mean you did it. And it certainly doesn't talk about how good you were at it. So you did a bunch of PSVs. Okay, well, clearly there was a deadline. Completed X number of PSVs for a study that had an extremely tight timeline, blah, 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 blah. Now you're talking proof, you're talking real stories, right? You're no longer vague. You're being very specific about what you did, right? Same thing with IMVs, completed X number of IMVs for a global multi-site oncology study that was struggling to meet enrollment target, and this is the problem I solve, right? So you want to start running that so what question test against every task in your resume and start adding the what you really did, right? Not what you were responsible for, what the job description said that you were supposed to do when you were hired, but what you actually did. And this is even better for people who are trying to pivot. So if you're trying to go from like a CRA to a management job, from a data manager to a CRA job, from a whatever, you start adding those tasks in that you have experience in and competency in, and you start showing the problems that you solve that might align to other things, right? And so this is critically important. Okay. I would go one step further and say the same thing about your LinkedIn. Are you getting views? Are you getting any type of response and actions there? And I'm just going to share mine really quickly. This is where you go when you take a look at it. So if you look at your LinkedIn profile, this is really important. Is you can see, you can only see this. I'm not going to be able to see this on your LinkedIn profile, but you can see it on your own. There's an analytics section here, and it shows how many profile views in the last 7 days, how many post impressions, and how much search experience appearances you have. Now, this is going to show a couple things. First of all, it's going to show whether or not LinkedIn's 360 brew is working for you. Because if your profile's not buttoned up and it's not rich with keywords and your posts don't align with what you've got written here, then these numbers are going to be pretty pitiful because LinkedIn is not putting you in front of anybody. Searches aren't yielding anything to make your name or your face pop up, right? These post impressions right here, I was just talking to Sarah at the beginning before we started recording. She did this fabulous post yesterday on sarcoma, the forgotten cancer. And so that's going to drive a lot of post impressions because it aligns A with what she does and B with the target audience that she's trying to attract. This is going to mean that her post impressions are going to go up. And that's important because post impressions mean that LinkedIn is putting you and your content in front of people that it's matching you to, right? And this is something a real person does. A bot can't do this, you guys. A bot can't go out and like and comment on other people's posts and it be meaningful. Then you can get garbage. I get garbage bot posts all the time, but I'm talking about real posts, real comments, things that show your expertise that matters here. Okay. And the same thing with search appearances. So this is going to be a really great way for you to tell if what you've got going on is working. Because if you've got a lot of profile views, but people are bouncing right straight off your profile, what do you guys think that means? You guys tell me, what do you guys think that means here? If you're getting a bunch of profile views, but no one's doing anything with it, what do you think that means?
So maybe there's not enough detail within, the your job descriptions and what you've actually done in your profile.
I would say that's a really good start. Yes. Is that they're seeing that maybe you were a C or A, but when they get on your profile, they can't see that you have the therapeutics they're looking for, or maybe you don't have the number of years experience that they're looking for. Or it's so vague that they're like, "Oh, I don't know if this guy exists. You don't have a picture, you don't have a banner, you don't have a this, you don't have a that, right? So they're just bouncing right back off. Something led them to your profile, but nothing was there enough to make them stay. Now, you're not going to be a perfect fit for everyone. But if you have enough details to attract the people that care about you, which should align with your competencies and your experiences, they're going to stay and they're going to reach out. Okay. So good. And I think somebody else said something. I'm sorry. Who did somebody else
Yeah.
have a thought?
Ellen said she thinks it means it's worse than no profile views.
Worse than no pro views. If they're coming, I don't know that that's necessarily true. I love it whenever you're getting profile views because that means that LinkedIn's doing something for you. No profile views means that nobody's doing anything to match anywhere. And you want LinkedIn's 360 brew working for you. So it is putting you in front of people if you are getting some profile views, some post impressions, and some visits. But what's happening, it's kind of like, let's say that you go out on Google. Let me put it this way. So let's say that you go out on Google and you say, I want a baby blue certain type of baby carriage. Okay. And you outline exactly what you're looking for. Now you're going to come up with all these searches on Google. And if you click on one that matches, but you go out and look and they're selling horse and buggy carriage, right? Not a baby carriage. Well, you're going to leave and you're going to go back to your search, right? Because it doesn't match. So you came up in the search, but when they landed on your profile, it's not a match. So the good news is you came up in the search. But so now it's just a fine tweak because now you want to make sure you align and you match. It's the whole world of search engine optimization. And so it's making sure that what you've got on your LinkedIn profile aligns with the problems that you solve and the experiences that you have, the qualifications and capabilities that you carry, and the career path, the story that you're telling. That's what's going to hook them. You want to look at your LinkedIn profile like it is your personal webpage. You're telling your story, right? This is what I've done, where I am, and where I'm going. These are the problems that I can solve. This is how I can make your life easier, right? And so then that way, whenever they get on your LinkedIn profile, they stay.